Hello everybody, welcome to the webinar, and I just want to start off by of course reminding everyone of Reliv's mission, which is to nourish the world in mind, body and spirit. And of course we all take that on board as a holistic approach to what we do and how we go out there and change people's lives on a daily basis. Our vision for Asia Pacific is to reach $1 million in US dollars in the Asia Pacific market per month. And remember, if Reliv is doing sales of that type, then that means you as a distributor, as an engaged and active distributor, you're making money as well and working your way towards financial independence. Well, I'm Birch, I'm the sales manager for Asia Pacific for Reliv, and I'd like to introduce the person sitting next to me, Emily Cassar, who's our marketing assistant with Reliv Australia and New Zealand. Hello Emily.
Hi Benny.
Emily is going to share her experience from day-to-day life and as a Gen Yer of smartphones. And what I really want to get across in this webinar today is the importance of smartphones in your business and why we're putting so much attention and so much emphasis on technology and on smartphones. Smartphone penetration throughout Asia Pacific is pretty high, isn't it, Emily?
It is, very high.
And I'll tell you what that is now that you've asked. And the Nielsen report states that in 2013, that in Singapore, which has the highest market penetration of smartphones, it's at 87%. Australia is 75%. Malaysia is at 80%. New Zealand, 40%. Indonesia, 23%. And in the Philippines is at 15%. But one of the big points with the Philippines is that the Philippines is the fastest growing market for sales of smartphones in Southeast Asia. And year on year from 2011 to 2012 they had over 300% increase in sales, and 2013 is proving to be going along the same levels of that over 300% increase in sales. The other thing of course from a technology point of view in smartphones is what's called tablets, which is iPads and things like that. And the penetration of iPads in some of these markets is significant. Australia has almost a 50% penetration of iPads in the marketplace. Singapore's at 47% and Malaysia is at 42%. So with all of that, Emily, what do you think is the whole concept of smartphones and why are they so important just in everyday life?
I think the biggest thing, Bernie, is that they're so easy. They're so easy and they're so accessible. And that's what I kind of want to touch on with everyone today, is how easy it can be. And basically I've taken a lot of commonly asked questions, some from the distributors themselves, some questions we've asked and thought about as well, and we're going to approach them today and hopefully give you all the answers you need.
Great. I'm sure our distributors really want to hear the answers. Okay, therefore, Emily, first question for the webinar. Why should a distributor use a smartphone in their business?
Well, Bernie, that's a great question, and I've come up with 3 answers. The first is mobility. It's obvious. You can take it wherever you go, it's easy to carry, and you have access to multiple things at one time. Speaking of multiple things, the second one is a multi-platform device. You have access to email, text messages, applications, and a various number of ways to network with the people you meet. And the third and final one is instant follow-up. Say you're with a distributor right there and then, or a potential customer, have access to instant follow-up. You can email them right there and then, you can sign them up as a distributor, and it's really easy to make instant follow-up a professional way to run your business. Okay,
great Emily, thanks for that. So what does a distributor look for in a smartphone?
The first and foremost thing is you want it to be affordable. Don't let a phone break your bank. There are a lot of options for smartphones these days, and it doesn't have to necessarily be something like an Apple iPhone. It can be any one of the Android phones. Make sure it has 3G or 4G access. Now what does that mean? It means 3rd generation or 4th generation network. And basically the difference between the two is just a slightly faster network with better coverage. The next one is a high quality camera. You want at least a 5 megapixel camera. This is because it will help you with taking pictures of the products, showing them to customers, and just in general helping you to network with others. The next one is email compatibility. You want to be able to email your distributors and customers, obviously. Then there's Wi-Fi compatibility. You want internet when you're on the run. And you also want access to an app store, which most smartphones these days have.
Okay, so Emily, just listening to what you said, you're saying it needs to be affordable. So there's a lot of plans around these days. It means that people can get smartphones and don't have to pay for it outright. They can actually get on a plan where they might pay $30, $40, $50 a month, and the phone's included in that. That's a great way for people to get it, isn't it?
Absolutely, and I previously had experience in the telecommunications industry, and I highly recommend working out a plan that is suitable for you. It does actually work out cheaper if you're eligible to get a plan for a phone, because you're paying off the phone at the same time as using the network, and it does overall work out cheaper than buying it outright upfront.
Okay, and so the other point I'd like to make there is you mentioned at least a 5 megapixel camera in the phone, and of course that means that they can also use that for social media. And of course a lot of our emphasis is on social media and how people can network and things like that, so I would really emphasise that that's something that, as you've said, is really important moving forward. So therefore the next question is, what are common terms distributors should familiarise themselves with?
Yes, so as I was speaking just before about certain things that you should look for in your phone, you might also be thinking, well, what does this mean? What does that mean? I'm just going to run you through some of the most common questions that I've had from people. The first is in terms of Wi-Fi. Now, Wi-Fi, as I mentioned, is a way for devices to connect wirelessly to the internet. Now, most phones, if not all, have this Wi-Fi connection. You can find these connections to wirelessly at cafes and restaurants and most kind of libraries and business areas. If not, you can pay a small fee to access them publicly, or set them up at home and have access to them at home wherever you are. The next term that I wanted to cover off was App Store, which you'll hear a lot in advertisements and in general speak. And an App Store is basically a place to search for applications where you can download them or also buy them. Often enough they're free, and I always recommend looking for the free versions of them. And then if you want to upgrade or have an application often without advertising, then you can buy the app for a small fee. And on that note, if you're thinking, well, wait a second, what's an application? An application is a software basically that's optimized for your mobile. It is a way to gain quick access to a certain software, a certain website, a certain utility on your phone. And the final term that I wanted to cover off was browser. Now basically this is an application on your phone, and you might even hear it referenced with your computer as well, and it's just another term for the internet basically. You'll often find common browsers that are mentioned with mobiles, Safari, Google Chrome, or just simple icons that say internet on your mobile.
Okay, Emily, so how can a distributor sign up a prospective customer with their smartphone?
So it's really easy and quite simple. Now you're going to see some pop-up images of how to do this. Basically what you want to do first is on your phone you want to access the internet or the browser application, and you want to type in the respective website, whether you're from Australia or New Zealand or from another part of the world. Basically, let's for example type in reliveasiapacific.com.au. Now it'll bring you up to the home page, and it should look exactly like you see it on your computer. And then all you simply have to do is scroll down and click Join Now, and then that allows you to sign up your potential customer either as a preferred customer or a distributor. And then you just simply click Submit. It will allow you to name it whatever you would like. I would just suggest something like the Relive blog, and basically then it will create a small icon on your phone, and then you'll be able to access it whenever you would like to.